Hi, I'm Pam Fox at pamfox.org. Welcome back to the Planti-Reflux Challenge. This morning I'm going to be throwing together another green juice just like I did yesterday. Again, I had my workout this morning and I had, excuse me. Okay, when I forget to turn the speaker off on my computer, I can hear myself talking in the background and there's a delay, so that's really annoying. But anyway, I'm going to be making another Three's Company green juice this morning, but I'm just doing 2 bananas instead of the regular recipe. Remember, it's modifiable. I already had a hot date this morning and had my workout. I like the hot date pre-workout because it's got so much energy in the dates. It's a wonderful source of energy. I'm not going to do as much kale today because I want to save this for tomorrow. So I'm just going to do a little bit less kale. And I'm going to put in, just like yesterday, I'm still out of walnuts. So I'm just going to put in 2 of these Brazil nuts and some water. Today we're going to be going into chapter 3 of my book, Planti-Reflux, and we're going to be talking about, it's entitled, So Where Do I Start? And it just kind of goes through some of the logistics for those of you who are taking the month-long challenge, or the 28-day challenge. All right, we're going to blend. So if you've got earbuds in, turn your volume down. Ooh, I love it when that happens. Right to the top. Of course, I like to wash my Vitamix as soon as I'm done using it. This makes easier cleanup for later. Beautiful green goodness. Can you see it moving? So as I was saying yesterday, this is such a wonderful way to start your day because there's so much alkalizing nutrients in this juice. There's healing power in this juice, really. I actually adapted this recipe from Dr. Brooke Goldner, who is a doctor who's very famous and well known for helping her patients reverse, cure, heal, whatever word you want to use, their lupus and other autoimmune diseases. And a form of this is what she prescribes for her patients. I believe they put lemon in it as well, which makes it really tasty. But for those of you with reflux, lemon is on the common triggers list. However, if lemon's not an issue for you, go ahead and put it in, right? If it's not causing an issue for you and you can tolerate it just fine. And that's the thing you have to understand about reflux and about conditions of GERD and LPR is what might be a trigger for one person may not be a trigger for another person. So you have to kind of figure out for yourself what your triggers are. But this is a good place to start. There are common trigger foods that you can avoid to really set yourself up for success when you're trying to heal the tissues of the esophagus. If you've had long-term reflux and you want to heal the tissues of the esophagus, naturally through food. All right, so let's go through this. I've got, we're in my book, Planti-Reflux. I've got my tablet here. So it is an ebook. It is an ebook, and you can pick it up on Amazon. And if you don't want to pick it up, that's fine too. You can go through the challenge with us. And I'm just going to be going through some recipes. I'm going to be going through the book. Yesterday we were in chapter 2. Today we're in chapter 3, which is entitled, So Where Do I Start? And today I'm going to go through the 5 things that I kind of outlay in this chapter in terms of how to take this challenge, how to take this Planti-Reflux. It's a plant-based challenge that eliminates all common trigger foods for 1 month. It's a 28-day challenge, 4 weeks, 1 month, whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to go over the 5 ways that that really set me up for success when I first took my first, month-long challenge back years ago, over 5-6 years ago, that I really felt were key in my success. I'm going to share those 5 things, and I've kind of set it up for you that are joining me, that are doing this challenge with me in my group, with my book. If you don't want to take the challenge and you just want to follow along and see how other people are doing and learn, that's fine. I mean, I studied plant-based nutrition for 1 whole year before I dove in and took a challenge. For 1 whole year. I just wanted to learn as much as I could. I don't know, I was really scared for some reason. I think a lot of people are. They think that, oh, I'm going to go on this plant-based challenge and I'm going to get sicker. I mean, that's what I thought. And what happened was, like, for me, it was a miracle. And I do, in one of the chapters in my book, I give my whole testimony, and we will talk about that on another day. But for me, I experienced massive healing by going on a plant-based diet, like unbelievable, unexplainable, to me, what seemed like miraculous healing, because it was so profound. And that's why I'm such a proponent of plant-based diets. And I'm not the only one. In fact, the reason that I finally had the courage to take it was because I had exposed myself to so many other people's testimonies of what they experienced by trying plant-based nutrition, which was healing, and not just of this disease or that disease. It was just a myriad of different things, right? And it's like you start to think, well, this must be a really healthy way to eat for the body if it's promoting healing in general for so many different conditions. Okay, so let's get started. So I have this short and sweet to-do list at the end of the chapter. And number 1, it says to commit to a 28-day plant-based challenge. And that's really the first step that you have to take, is say, I am going to commit to a 1-month self-disciplined challenge where I'm not going to eat any meat, dairy, and eggs, and I'm going to omit these common trigger foods for reflux. And of course, I have the list of those items, and we'll talk about those. But you have to commit to that 30-day challenge. That's number 1. If you go into it kind of half-hearted and say, well, I'll just do it, meatless Mondays, for example, something along those lines, or I'm just going to, cut back here and there, you're not going to be able to see the profound power a plant-based diet may or may not have for you. And that's the thing. I can't guarantee that a plant-based diet is going to be the answer to all of your health problems. Was it for me? Yeah, it was. Is it for a lot of people? Yeah, it is. But obviously, no one can guarantee that. If that was the case, everybody would be on a plant-based diet. I do believe that it is the healthiest way to eat. However, unfortunately, some people have so many underlying health conditions that they don't see those results right away. For me, I started to notice changes in my health right away, like within days, and then weeks, and then a month, and then 2 months. For some things it took longer. For some things I noticed improvement right away. Just depended on the condition. One of the conditions I had, called hidradenitis suppurativa, some of you know what that is. It's not a rare condition, but it's one that's not talked about very often because it's disgusting. It took a year for that to completely heal. It got better and better and better throughout the year, but it took a year before it completely went away. So, and then, other symptoms like my allergies within 2 weeks. I've had lifelong allergies. Those went away within 2 weeks on a plant-based diet. So it starts with committing to taking that challenge, which means you're going to have to kind of devise a plan for you, because the plan for me isn't going to be the plan for everybody. And we'll talk about that in step 5. But commit to the challenge is step 1. And step 2, if you're doing this with me and with us, you want to join the Planti-Reflux support group on Facebook if you haven't already, because I believe, and this for me was one of the hugest keys to my success, when I started the plant-based diet. And I'll tell you why. First of all, when I started a plant-based diet, I was convinced that I wouldn't be able to last for a month. But I told myself, I can try anything for a month. Come on, Pam, you can try this for 1 month just to see. Just to see, because the only way you're going to know, you're listening to all these people tell you that they healed eating this diet, and you're wondering if you could possibly heal and not believing that you could. But the only way you're going to know is to try it. That's the only way you're going to know. And so I expose myself to so many people, and by doing that, I was pouring in support, I was pouring in inspiration, and I had a source of motivation on a daily basis because I had that support. And for me, obviously I didn't have this group at that time. I was new to all of this, but there were other groups that I had joined at that time. And now I have my group and I have my circle of influence, and people are joining my group. And maybe one day you will have a success story. Maybe you'll have a Facebook group and you'll have a circle of influence in wherever you are. That's the beautiful thing about ripple effects and people sharing their stories. So you want to join the free Facebook group on, it's called the Planti-Reflux. If you just go into Facebook in the search bar and type in Planti-Reflux, it should come up. It's got a pink title, a pink banner on the top. But it's called the Planti-Reflux Support Group with Pam Fox. And just request to join. And I go in every day and approve those requests. Number 3 is post in the Facebook support group if you are taking the challenge and introduce yourself. And again, this goes back to what I was just saying. When you are in a support group, you can receive support from others and you can provide inspiration to others as well. You just never know how your story might affect someone else. You never know. You might type, "Hi, I'm so-and-so and I live in so-and-so and these are my symptoms. And I don't know, I was diagnosed with GERD, 5 years ago, and I've really struggled," and whatever. You might, tell a little bit about yourself, and someone else might go, "Oh my gosh, that sounds just like me." I remember, like, that was me when I first got started years ago. There was this woman who was describing her allergies and her asthma, and she even looked like me, but she sounded just like me. She was describing her life, describing her experience with allergies and asthma that she's had in her entire life, describing all the different medications that she's taken, describing her experience with doctors and the different therapies and things that she's tried, all of the different things that she's tried. And it might as well have been me. She sounded just like me. And the end of her story was that she totally overcame all of that through food, through plant-based nutrition. She takes no more medications. She has no more symptoms. She can live her life without being handicapped by her allergies and her asthma. And I was just like, wow. And I got in touch with that woman and I'm like, "Are you serious? Like, are you legit? Like, are you telling the truth?" Because I could not believe it. And she was. And she was one of the people that really inspired me to take that 30-day challenge. So I thought, there's no way I'm going to know unless I try. And so, and I had the same experience that she did. I couldn't believe it. Like, I've been taking so many inhalers, steroid inhalers, fast-acting inhalers, prescription nasal sprays, prescription eye drops, creams, lotions, like all of it for all of my different allergy symptoms. And now I take none and I'm symptom-free. Do I still have allergies and asthma? Probably. If it takes a lot more to trigger me now, though. I used to get triggered so easily. I was puffing on my inhaler all day long. I was sniffling and sneezing and wheezing all the time. Even though I was taking these medications, I had issue. And I did come to a point where I just stopped taking the medications because they weren't really helping me that much. And then my allergies and asthma actually got worse. So they were helping me, but they weren't. I wanted to be healed. I wanted to be rid of allergies and asthma. I didn't just want to kind of manage it. And with plant-based nutrition, and I can't explain exactly why. I mean, I can try, and I have my theories as to how it all works, because I wasn't allergic to the food I was eating necessarily. You could say it, you could put it that way. But the food that I was eating was really, I think, disrupting my gut balance. I think that it was disrupting my immunity, which is where your immune system is in the gut. And so because I had such weakened immunity, I was just so easily triggered. All right, so join the group and introduce yourself. You never know how your story might affect other people. I say in my book, your story has the potential to have a cannonball ripple effect on others all around the world. And that's the beautiful thing about Facebook groups is there might be people in here from Australia. There might be people in here from all over the world. So you just never know. All right, so number 4, and this is where it gets kind of fun, is to purge your kitchen of junk food, animal food, and other common triggers if possible. Now, I know that's not going to be easy for everybody. If you have a family, if you're the only one living in your house, you shouldn't have any excuse. But I'm telling you, if the foods that you're trying to abstain from eating are available for you to grab and to eat, you're going to grab them and you're going to eat them unless you have really amazing willpower and self-discipline. For me, I have horrible willpower and self-discipline, so I felt it was really important to purge my kitchen, right? And to get rid of meat, dairy, and eggs, to get rid of junk foods, to get rid of, and then the common triggers, the common trigger foods, which again, there's a list in the book and there's a list in the files of my group. So if you don't buy the book, they are there in the files. You can bring them up and look at them. You can print them out, or you can just Google it. It's not like I discovered this list. It's nothing new. It's the same list that most doctors, if you've got a good gastroenterologist and you're diagnosed with GERD or LPR, they're the foods that they're going to tell you to cut back on or abstain from eating. The difference with a plant-based diet is it eliminates meat, dairy, and eggs as well, which most gastroenterologists aren't going to tell you to eliminate meat, dairy, and eggs. They're going to tell you to cut back because they feel that that's too extreme, and people won't adhere to a diet where that's so extreme. And believe you me, I went by that mindset for a very long time. I told you for a year I was studying nutrition before I tried a 30-day challenge, plant-based challenge. And during that year, I constantly told myself, if I try to take a plant-based challenge, I will fail. I told myself, I will last on that diet for 3 seconds because it is so extreme. And I knew myself. I'd tried other diets in the past. I wasn't able to adhere to them, and I knew I would not be able to adhere to a plant-based diet. But what turned out was that eating a plant-based diet, if you have your plan, which is number 5, and we'll talk about that next, if you have a plan in place and you really go about it logically and schematically, I guess, you have a plan. And it's not just, and it shouldn't sound like, oh, it's so hard to go on a plant-based diet. It's just you're trying something new and you have to kind of know what you're doing and be ready for these different challenges that you're going to face, right? Like if you're starving and you show up at a barbecue where all the foods you're not supposed to eat are now right in front of you in a buffet, yeah, you're probably going to eat those foods. So you have to be ready for that, which means you need to bring your own food or you need to eat before you come, right? Like if I go to a potluck, I'm going to bring a huge bowl of food that I can eat. And that way, if there's nothing else there that I can eat, I know now that there's something there that I can eat. And it's a potluck anyway, I need to bring food. So why not bring food that I can eat? So things like that, you just need to be prepared for. And we'll talk about that in the next point, but it's really important, getting back to purging your kitchen, it's really important that you don't have these foods that you're trying to abstain from ready available. And so what I did, and this is kind of fun, you can go through your pantry, go through your freezer, go through your refrigerator, and just clean house. Just start cleaning house. And if you don't feel good about throwing all that stuff away, donate it to somebody. Maybe you have a sister with a family or an aunt or something like that. Say, do you want this food? I'm going on a month-long challenge and I got to get it out of my house. So you don't feel like you're wasting it. Now, if you have a family, what I would advise is that you really, have a family meeting and say, you guys know that I have these health issues. I would really like to overcome these health issues. I'd like to try this month-long diet. And I'd really like you to do it with me. Do it with me. And it's not to say, if you've got kids that they can't have treats and stuff like that. You've just got to figure out what works for you. But if you can get your family to do it with you, they're going to benefit from it as well. And if the food doesn't have to be disgusting. It might seem bland at first, and talk about that in my book. And we will get into that in another live. But it might seem bland at first because your taste buds haven't adjusted yet. But they will. And they do. And then the food becomes amazingly delicious and you don't feel like you're on a diet. And that's the thing I say over and over again. If you're on a diet where you don't feel like you're on a diet, you're going to succeed on that diet. You're going to be able to stay on that diet because you don't feel like you're on a diet. You don't feel like you're sacrificing anything. You don't feel like you're giving anything up. You don't think, oh, poor me, I'm on a diet and I'm starving. Because on this diet, you shouldn't be starving. And that's part of the plan, and we'll talk about that next. So number 4 is you've got to set yourself up for success by eliminating the foods that are going to tempt you to stray from this 30-day challenge. Okay? All right, number 5 is to devise your plan. It says devise your plan, get shopping, and enjoy the journey. So when it comes to devising your plan, I've got some questions here in chapter 3 that you can kind of sit down and contemplate in order to devise your plan. Because again, my plan is going to be different from your plan. I live by myself. I mean, I am married, but my husband's at work all the time. So I just cook for myself for the most part. Occasionally he'll ask me to pick up some things that I don't normally pick up so that he can have, certain things that he wants. And that's fine. But for like 99% of the food in my kitchen is my food. So for me, yeah, I've got it pretty easy. I don't have other people in my household. But some of the questions you want to ask yourself is, one, who does the shopping? Who does the cooking? What are the rest of your family going to eat? Will they do the challenge with you? Hopefully so. Hopefully yes. When and where will you be eating your meals? So this would be an example. When I first started my month-long challenge, the plant-based challenge, I had a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 job. And so it was like, well, previous to that, I ate the food. They supplied my food. And so I couldn't do that because it was very rich in meat, dairy, and eggs, oils, spices. I mean, not a lot of spices, but it wasn't going to jive with what I was trying to do. There was no way I could make what they were offering me suit my needs. And so I had to bring my own food. And so this is what I did. I would do, when I first started, I would do smoothies. I would get up in the morning, make myself a huge smoothie. In fact, I would fill 2 of these, right? So that I could really meet those morning caloric needs. I would do 6, 8, 9 bananas in a smoothie, and water. That was my base. And then sometimes I would add other things, kind of like this has kale, but add blueberries or whatever. So I would do that for breakfast. And then for dinner, and I'll get to lunch, but for dinner, I would come home and my husband and I would eat this massive plant-based dinner. And I say massive because by default, a plant-based diet is lower in calories. And I talk about this in the book, but it's lower in calories without those meat, dairy, and eggs and oils. And so in order to meet your caloric needs, you have to eat a larger volume of food, which to me is really fun. I really enjoy eating large volumes of food, except when people tease me. Like if I'm at a gathering, right, and I bring my own food, or if I'm at a family reunion and I eat my dinner out of a bowl like this, people do tease me, and and that gets kind of old because it just gets kind of old. But I saw your comments come up, guys, but oh, there they are. They disappear so quickly. Okay. How do you differ weak lower esophageal sphincter and hiatal hernia? How do you differ? A weak lower, and hiatal hernia. Well, everyone that has reflux because of a weak lower esophageal sphincter doesn't necessarily have a hiatal hernia, and vice versa. So the only way you can know is to have a diagnostic image that shows you that you have a hiatal hernia. You can go to my website and take my hiatal hernia quiz, and it'll help you have a better understanding or indication as to whether or not you have a hiatal hernia. But the only way you actually know is to have that diagnostic image where you've had a barium swallow or you've had an endoscopy that shows you, yep, you've got this diagnosis, official diagnosis, you have a hiatal hernia. Or an official diagnosis that you don't have a hiatal hernia. And if you don't have a hiatal hernia, then that means that lower esophageal sphincter is opening up for all the other reasons that I talked about yesterday. So it could be for one of those reasons or a variety of those reasons, but not hiatal hernia, okay? And how long did you have reflux, Flora? Well, that's a good question. I'm trying to remember. I started having reflux symptoms a very long time ago. I would say I'm 50, I would say in my mid 30s, maybe even going back, or right around there. And they started out pretty mild and I just paid no attention to it. It wasn't really that big a deal, but then it got worse and worse and worse to the point where I was about ready to lose my mind. Not just from the reflux, and some of you have heard me say this before, but from the belching, just like what I call relentless explosive belching that would happen 24 hours around the clock. So that was messing with my mind because I couldn't escape it. It got to the point where it was all the time, and there was nothing I could do, nothing I could eat, nothing I could not eat I was just exploding all the time. And I felt like I was going to go crazy. And I always tell people, because some people say, well, you're just burping. What's the big deal? Why is it that bad? And I say, well, imagine having hiccups 24 hours a day. Like if you've ever had the hiccups, prolonged hiccups for like an hour, and you're just like, oh, I wish these hiccups would go away. I mean, imagine having that 24 hours a day. I mean, that's what it was like. So anyway, getting back to this. So when and where will you be eating your meals? So if you work like this, so getting back to what I did is we had a huge dinner, and then I would immediately box up my dinner in something, to go type stuff, put it in a bag, stick it in the refrigerator, and then in the morning I was out the door, grabbed my lunch, took it to work, stuck it in the refrigerator at work. Now, I was lucky enough to have a refrigerator at work. I was also lucky enough to have a fully stocked kitchen. So I also kept food there so I could eat fruit throughout the day if I wanted to. If I wanted to make myself a smoothie, I could do that. We had a blender. I know not everybody has that. So again, you need to devise your own plan and what's going to work for you. But that's what I did. I would make myself a huge smoothie in the morning, and then I would have leftovers for lunch, and then my husband and I would eat dinner together. And that was my plan. So you need to really be systematic about this. Like, how am I going to set myself up for success? What is my plan? So when and where will you be eating your meals? What about meal prepping? I know a lot of people that are really into meal prepping. I've got a good friend, she's a school teacher, and every Sunday she meal preps everything, and then her refrigerator is all full of all these meals, and they can just grab and go, grab and go, grab and go. And I think that's great. That's not what I've done, because that wasn't part of my plan. I have a daughter that does the same thing. She does meal planning once a week, and she loves it, and it just helps her to be more organized, to stay on track, and sets herself up for success. Um, so what about meal prepping? What about meals at work? What about eating out? A lot of people eat out very frequently. Some people hardly ever eat out. So you need to kind of decide for yourself, like, what's that going to look like? One of the great things you can do today is you can pull up the restaurant that you're going to eat at and pull up their menu and see if they do have plant-based options. And talk to your server. Be like, I'm on a special diet. I can't. Can you cook this without oil, or can you minimize the oil? A lot of times when I go to restaurants, I'll ask, a lot of times they won't cook it without oil. They'll say, no, not really. But they'll minimize the oil. And for me, that's good enough. I can go with that. I do eat out at restaurants. I kind of have my favorite restaurants here in town where I live. And I have my favorite items on the menu that I absolutely love. And I look forward to those things. And I don't get tired of them at all. Sometimes I wish there was more vegan options on those menus. But honestly, like, the food is so good that I just really look forward to it. And I don't have to think when I sit down at a restaurant. I don't even have to look at the menu if I've been there before, or if I've already pulled it up on the online. It's just really nice, because I used to be the type of person that would have stress ordering and not know what to pick, and you go first, and I don't know. But now I don't even think about it. There's no stress at all. So that's nice. But it is a little bit more challenging for me. I no longer have GERD. Now I've completely healed my GERD. I do eat things like, here's an onion right here. I do eat onions. I do eat lemon. I eat spices. I don't eat really spicy food just because I've never liked really spicy food. There's certain foods that a lot of times I don't even cook with garlic and onions, just because I went for so long without it that I don't even really miss it. So you take the time and the effort to put those garlic and onion back in, and I don't even really taste the difference. It's certain things, like if I'm cooking potatoes, like like my potato hash that's in the cookbook, I do like to put onions in it. Of course, there's no onions in the recipe in the book, but all that to say is, that when you're eating out, certain places are going to be more accommodating than others. So you kind of have to have that already predetermined in your plan. And if you're just not going to eat out together, then that's easy peasy. You don't have to worry about it. What about parties, events, family gatherings? Again, when I go, so we have every year I have a family gathering that's 4 days long, and each family has a different day where they prepare the dinner or the breakfast. And so I prepare a plant-based meal, and they love it. That nobody complains, they love it. And I bring a lot of my own food, and I, eat these huge salads in these bowls, and it's not an issue because I'm prepared. And because I know how important it is for me to stay on this diet, because it has been so profoundly effective in giving me exhausted all the time. sure he wants to go. And I couldn't keep up with him, and I didn't even want to. I just stay home and rest every chance I. So it really gave me back my life. So if you know you're going to a potluck or out to dinner with friends, you've got to think about those things. And does that make more work for you? You could look at it that way. I don't look at it that way. Like if I'm going to a potluck, I've got to fix a dish anyway. If I'm going to go to a restaurant, I'm going to order food there anyway. So, just by, talking to the waiter or talking to the cook to make sure that they can accommodate me, and then certain restaurants I just don't go back to. I mean, it's only happened like maybe once where they're like, I'm sorry, we have nothing for you here. And then they just bring out like a bowl of lettuce, and I was like eating my lettuce. Oh boy, that's really fun. I won't go back to a restaurant like that because I don't enjoy a bowl of lettuce. I want to be able to sit and enjoy my food just like everybody else. And I do. I enjoy my food when I eat out. I really look forward to it. So, things like, it is harder when it comes to eliminating common trigger foods because most salad dressings have oil in them. You can bring your own salad dressing, which some restaurants don't like that, but I usually do it. I just kind of sneak it in. Some restaurants don't care, but I usually just bring it in my backpack. It is trickier when you're trying to eliminate those common triggers, but you can do it. Like you just have to find the right restaurant, and you have to sometimes change up the item that you're ordering, or talk to the chef and ask them if they can accommodate you by eliminating certain things. So yeah, it is challenging, but you can do it. And then what about when I travel? And that's the other thing. Like I think 2 months into my first plant-based challenge, many years ago, I'm trying to think if I've been vegan for 6 years or 7 years. I'd have to do the math. My husband and I went on a vacation, like a 10-day vacation. And I was like, oh, I really want to maintain this diet. I don't want to stray from it. And I really felt like traveling, I didn't feel like I'd be able to. But I did. I bought one of those travel blenders, and I took that with, and we would go to the store, and I would buy a lot of my own food, and I would make smoothies in the hotel, or we would go to restaurants that we would look up in advance, and they had vegan options. If it was something, like for example, a hummus plate. Usually, a lot of times hummus plate, they'll drizzle olive oil all over the hummus, or they'll make like a little gravy bowl in the hummus and fill it with olive oil. So I would ask, can you not do that? And it's just as simple as that. And so that eliminates the oil. And a hummus platter, it's got the hummus, a lot of times they make it with garlic. So you have to ask. And if it's made with garlic, then that's not going to work for you. But if it isn't made with garlic, then that does work for you. So yeah, you just have to be a little bit more proactive in devising your plan. So be prepared. Being prepared will set you up for success. Having a plan will set you up for success. Being concise will set you up for success. So for those of you that are taking the challenge, take that time. Sit down with a notebook and ask yourself these questions, and write out the answers, or at least have it in your mind, like, this is my plan. And share your plan with your family if you have people living in your household, so that everybody's on the same page and there's no surprises. So people aren't like, oh, excuse me, I've got fruit flies right now because I've got fruit everywhere. But yeah, share your plan with your family so everybody's on the same page. Hopefully they'll take the challenge with you, but if not, that's okay too. And then I end this chapter. It says, there will be challenges while developing and implementing your plan. Accept this now and be determined to keep going. And being in a support group will help with that. You can go in and say, look guys, tonight I tried one of Pam's recipes and it sucked. You can come in and say that. That's okay. Sometimes when we're trying these new recipes that don't have, garlic poured all over them or whatever, they can taste really bland at first. And so you might want to share that, and somebody else might say, oh yeah, I know, that happened to me when I first started too, but now I'm doing really well, and the food is just exploding with flavor and it tastes really good. So, just prepare for the challenges when you're developing your plan, and accept now that there's going to be challenges and there's going to be failures. There's going to be roadblocks. Just have to come to terms with that when you get started, and tell yourself, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do this for a month. I can do anything for a month. You can do anything for a month. Trust me. You can try anything new for a month, but you want to try it wholeheartedly. You don't want to look back on that month and say, yeah, I tried that. It didn't help. But if you only tried it half-heartedly, did you really try it? Right? You want to give it a go. you really want to jump in full throttle, and give it a go. So that's it for today. I'm going to get going. You guys, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I hope you're enjoying your green juice or green smoothie. All right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.